A very good evening to all of you. This is our second video on the cyst of the odontogenic origin, and I'm going to tell you every single thing you need to know about the dentigerous cyst. For more videos on the odontogenic cyst, as well as the odontogenic tumors or other topics from oral pathology, you can head on to the channel and check out the playlist and subscribe if you like it. Before we get into the dentigerous cyst, let's quickly remind what a cyst is. It is a pathological cavity. Its contents are fluid, semi-fluid, or gaseous, and it is not caused by the accumulation of pus. It can or cannot be lined by epithelium, and we have studied its classification in detail, where the cysts of the jaws were classified into epithelial and non-epithelial cysts. Epithelial cysts were further classified into developmental and inflammatory cysts, and the developmental further into odontogenic and non-odontogenic cysts. Right? So the cyst of our concern today is the dentigerous cyst. And as you can see, this is an odontogenic cyst of developmental origin, which is lined by epithelium. Okay, in this diagram, it is represented by the second picture. So starting with the definition of a dentigerous cyst. It can be defined as an odontogenic cyst that surrounds the crown of an impacted tooth caused by fluid accumulation between the reduced enamel epithelium and enamel surface. So starting with the first line, it is an odontogenic cyst. That means it arises from cells that give rise to a tooth, right? The cells that are involved in odontogenesis. The second part says that it is always associated with the crown of an impacted tooth. So you can see in this diagram very beautifully, the cyst is actually enclosing the entire crown of the unerupted tooth, which we have enucleated in toto. The third part tells you the reason for its formation, which is the accumulation of fluid between the reduced enamel epithelium and enamel surface. Okay, in the next few slides, I'll tell you in detail about this. But what it means is that you have a tooth which is covered by your enamel, right? In its erupting stage, it is also covered by something called the reduced enamel epithelium. And because of the erupting force of this tooth, there might be compression of the follicle, which causes accumulation of fluid between these two layers, right? So the accumulation of fluid between the enamel surface and the reduced enamel epithelium leads to a cyst in which the crown is enclosed in the cystic lumen, right? So again, revising, it is an odontogenic cyst enclosing the crown of an unerupted tooth caused by accumulation of fluid between the reduced enamel epithelium and enamel surface. It is also called the dentigerous cyst because dentigerous literally means to enclose or bear a tooth within it, right? Bearing tooth. It is called a pericoronal cyst because it surrounds the crown, right? Pericoronal. And it is called a follicular cyst because of the expansion of the dental follicle. It is always attached to the CEJ or the neck of the tooth, right? So in this diagram, you have a tooth, you have the crown of the tooth, and you have the root. The crown is covered by enamel and the root is covered by cementum. The junction of this is called CEJ. Your dentigerous cyst is always attached to the CEJ. It is not only related to an impacted tooth, but also to an odontoma and a supernumerary tooth. It is the most common developmental odontogenic cyst, accounting for 20% of all jaw cysts. In its etiopathogenesis, as I've told you, it originates via the accumulation of fluid between the reduced enamel epithelium and the crown of the tooth, right? So let's go into this. You have the enamel surface here, right? And you know, during the time of eruption, it is covered by the dental follicle, which contains your reduced enamel epithelium and connective tissue, right? So this is your reduced enamel epithelium. If you remember, it is composed of the outer enamel epithelium and the inner enamel epithelium, right? And this forms a protective covering around the enamel surface, right? So you have the enamel surface surrounded by the reduced enamel epithelium. Now, sometimes the force of the eruption of the erupting tooth, it causes compression of the follicle, which leads to an increased venous pressure and increased transitation of fluid. And this fluid that accumulates here leads to the formation of the cyst, right? So you can say that the cyst is derived from the reduced enamel epithelium. In its clinical features, the most common age of occurrence is the second and third decade. Male predilections, the most common site is the mandibular and maxillary third molar and the maxillary cuspid areas. Let us try to understand this. The most common site is the mandibular and maxillary third molar area as well as the maxillary cuspid. Now, why do you think the most common site of occurrence is these? Because these are the most commonly impacted teeth, right? These are the most commonly impacted teeth. And the second thing is these teeth erupt between the second and third decade, right? This is why the most common age of occurrence is the second and third decade. In its presentation, most dentigerous cysts are solitary. They may be bilateral or multiple, usually asymptomatic. Okay, so let me show you this diagram. Here you have a unilateral dentigerous cyst in relation to 3, 4, and 3, 5, right? Bilateral cysts are associated with two syndromes, which are cleidocranial dysplasia and Maritolami syndrome. Usually they are asymptomatic, but if allowed to increase in size, they will give you some symptoms. Okay, what are these symptoms? It might lead to expansion of bone, asymmetry, displacement of teeth, and severe root resorption. So again, let's go back to this diagram here. Right, you have this unilateral dentigerous cyst. Now, what this is doing is, it is causing the expansion. It is, first of all, the first thing is that there is an obvious swelling in the mouth, which may or may not be associated with pain. Okay, smaller are usually asymptomatic, painless. If it increases in size, might be associated with pain. The second thing is, it is causing expansion of the bone. It is causing expansion of your buccal and lingual cortical plate, right? So the second thing is expansion of bone. The third thing is, it might cause displacement of the adjacent teeth or the resorption of roots of the adjacent teeth, right? So resorption of roots of adjacent teeth. And the fourth thing is, it may cause facial asymmetry, right? Gross facial asymmetry. Now, sometimes it might grow to such a huge size that it can cause hollowing out of the entire ramus. So in this diagram, you can see a huge dentigerous cyst involving the entire ramus up to the condyle and the coronoid, right? Now, if continue to enlarge, it might actually cause the fracture of the mandible, right? And the cyst of the maxillary cuspid, they might cause the expansion of the anterior maxilla. It is usually not associated with pain unless secondarily infected. Radiographically, it is a typical well-defined unilocular radiolucent area with sclerotic margins surrounding an unerupted tooth, always attached to the cemento-enamel junction, right? So here you have the enamel surface, and this is the cementum, and it is always attached to the cemento-enamel junction. It is a well-defined radiolucency, unilocular, well-defined, unilocular, surrounded with this sclerotic margin, right? Here you can see this white line. This is a reaction of the bone. This is called the sclerotic margin. Well-defined unilocular radiolucent with sclerotic margin attached at the CEJ. Now, the most important differential diagnosis for a dentigerous cyst is an enlarged dental follicle. Right? How do you differentiate if this is not an enlarged dental follicle or is it a dentigerous cyst? So the most common answer is an enlarged dental follicle is 3 to 4 mm, whereas a dentigerous cyst is greater than 5 mm. Okay, this is a very important Viva question. There are 3 radiological variants which you are expected to know, which are the central, lateral, and circumferential. So central, as the name suggests, it surrounds the crown symmetrically, right? Symmetrically, it surrounds the crown. Lateral is dilated on one aspect, and the circumferential surrounds the entire tooth, including the root. Let's try to identify it in these images. You have your this is your central variant, surrounds the crown. You have the lateral variant, which is dilated on one end, and you have the circumferential, where you see a radiolucency around the entire tooth. And you cannot make out whether it is starting from the CEG, right? Histologically, as I have already told you multiple times, you always study the cyst in 3 parts, which is the lumen, the lining epithelium, and the connective tissue capsule. Right? This is the lumen, this is the lining epithelium, and this is the connective tissue capsule. So every time you comment on these 3 features. So talking about the lumen of the dentigerous cyst, it contains cystic fluid, which is thin, watery, sometimes blood-tinged. The epithelium lining resembles REE, 2 to 3 layers of stratified squamous epithelium. Connective tissue wall contains your normal connective tissue with sometimes odontogenic epithelial remnants. So let's try to understand this here in this diagram. Okay, so the first thing, the lumen, I told you it contains usually a cystic fluid, which might be pale yellow in color, and occasionally it might be blood tinged if secondarily infected. Okay, then you go on to the epithelium lining. Right, so epithelium lining, again and again we have talked in the etiopathogenesis, is derived from the reduced enamel epithelium. So it contains stratified squamous epithelium with flattened cells, usually 2 to 3 layers. Characteristically, there is no retipex. Right? I'll come back to this. And the third thing is the connective tissue capsule. This is your normal capsule with fibroblast, mucopolysaccharide, and sometimes epithelial remnants, right? So these are called your odontogenic islands, which are present within the connective tissue capsule. So again, mentioning about this point that I had talked about, the connective tissue interface with the epithelium lining is usually flat, and there are no retipex unless the cyst is secondarily infected. So the cystic lumen, epithelium lining, and connective tissue capsule. Moving on to the treatment, this is quite simple. Smaller lesions, enucleate in total. Remove the entire lesion in one shot with the lining and the connective tissue capsule. If it occurs in a larger size, as in this image, right? Here you can see a huge dentigerous cyst in the ramus area. You cannot remove this in toto. Okay, if you try to enucleate this entire thing in one go, you will definitely cause a fracture. Right? So what we do is marsupialization. We create a window, drain out the cystic contents, pack it with gauze, allow it to keep draining out, and then enucleate it the cystic lining, which becomes small in toto, right? So enucleation and marsupialization, it has minimal tendency to recur, so the recurrence is rare. However, there are potential complications, which are ameloblastoma, epidermoid carcinoma, and mucoepidermoid carcinoma. So these arise because of the metaplastic changes in the lining epithelium. Okay, for example, the squamous metaplasia causes epidermoid carcinoma, and mucous metaplasia might cause mucoepidermoid carcinoma. So these are the potential complications. Now let's go on to solving some MCQs. What is the most common odontogenic cyst? So the answer is it dentigerous, radicular keratocyst, or CEOC? So the answer is radicular cyst, right? It is not dentigerous cyst. Dentigerous cyst is the most common developmental odontogenic cyst. Okay, but the most common odontogenic cyst is the radicular cyst. Second question, which of the following cyst develops in place of tooth? So the answer is again not dentigerous, it is the primordial cyst. This arises in relation to an impacted supernumerary or compound odontoma. To summarize, we have studied what is the dentigerous cyst, odontogenic cyst surrounding the crown of an impacted tooth caused by fluid accumulation between the surface and the reduced enamel epithelium. It is also called the pericoronal or follicular cyst. Clinically, it is seen in the second and third decades in males in mandibular third molar area, radiographically well-defined, unilocular with sclerotic margins greater than 5 mm. Right? This was the differential diagnosis to the dental follicle. Histopathologically, we have seen the lumen, we have seen the lining, and we have seen the connective tissue. Treatment, we have seen for smaller lesions enucleation, and for larger ones, marsupialization plus enucleation. Minimal tendency to recur. Complications include ameloblastoma, epidermoid carcinoma, and mucoepidermoid carcinoma. With this, we come to the end of the video. We have covered dentigerous cyst in depth, and I hope this video helps you for your exams. If you have any doubts, you can comment them below, and I hope you have a great day ahead. Thank you.